Should be on now, Scott.
Sorry, what's that?
I've just saw it. We're offline. That so it should be on now. Should be live now.
Have you just put it live?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Cool. Awesome.
Right, have a good one.
Cheers, man. Okay. Right then. Good evening, everyone. Hello, people. How are we doing? Sorry for the delays, and welcome to. Tell you what, let's start that again, shall we? Because that was terrible. So, hello people, and welcome to the opening 3 rounds of the 2012 GPVWC Masters Touring Car Series. We are here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, and we're here for 3 15-minute races that hopefully will see some very exciting action indeed. I'm Scott Woodwis, by the way. I am controlling the broadcast today with cameras and also providing you with hopefully some decent commentary that you will enjoy. So, as we said, Master Series is back. Now, if you watched this series last time out, we had Simon Cattell was the champion, and he is racing again. He is racing for Innovision. We're just about to go to the race session now. He was the champion, so he has returned. We've got some very fast drivers in the field. And we've got the likes of Dave Carl-Smith is in this race. We've got Martin Schumacher, who races in the Super Cup Series. We've also got the likes of Eric Tveit, OJ Clark. Lee Morris is back as well. He had a rather controversial time at the second round in Golden Port. But nonetheless, he's going to be there. You're watching there your pulse at Dave Carl-Smith. He's now jumped onto the grid, and we'll take you through the grid then for the first race then. Get ready. Take you through this field then. It's going to be hopefully a very strong field. As the cars lead away, let's take you through the grid. So, for the opening race we've got, on pole position is Dave Carl-Smith, and alongside him on the grid is going to be Martin Schumacher for Innovision. Third is the reigning champion Simon Cattell, also for Innovision. Fourth, a fantastic effort from Scott Bennett for Racing Team Scroton. Fifth, Eric Tveit, he's quite handy in a touring car, put himself onto the third row of the grid. Alongside him is OJ Clark for Simic Motorsport. Seventh place between Lee Morris for Revolution Motorsport. Alongside him on row 4 in the Coca-Cola sponsored car is going to be Lewis Redshaw. On row 5 and 9th place we've got Mr. Boyd Bryson, first of the RB Racing cars. 10th place, the orange and white machine was going to be the constant car of Mark Stanton, running out the top 10. 11th place, it's going to be Tom Parker for Woods Racing, and Bart de Vos in the Belgian coloured cars in the second Simic Motorsport car. And then in 13th we have David Junt, and he is in the second of the Tiger Express Motorsport cars. In 14th place we have Mr. Mark Wicks, and he's driving in the second Woods Racing machine. 15th we have Kenny Libeer in the second Revolution car. 16th and the first of the Vortex GP machines is Ihab Abbas, the Egyptian. 17th in another of the Innovision cars, the third Innovision machine, and that is Pavel Anowski. 18th is Keith Story, first of the FGWT cars. 19th is William Tringas, in another Racing Team Scroton machine. 20th is Miles Dixon for Revolution Motorsport. 21st is Mark Fuller for Woods Racing. 22nd in the Cannon sponsored car is Kieran Rhyme. 23rd is David Stanton, obviously Mark's brother, for Constant Racing. 24th is Philip Cullen in another of the magnificent machines by Halcyon Racing. Sorry, look at the rest of the field so if I can get my bearings on this one again. Cullen. 25th is going to be in the third of the Constant Racing cars, Chris Williamson in the kind of Peugeot 406 BTCC tribute sponsored car. He sits 25th. 26th is going to be in. We've got the rest of the two FGW cars in the field. We've got Jeff Mead in 26th and Ian Story in 27th. 28th on the grid is going to be Luke McKee for Vortex GP. 29th is Ollie Woods for RB Racing. In 30th place we have Alistair Brown. And then in 31st and last on the grid, you have James Shepherd in the last of the Simic Motorsport cars. And that rounds at your 31 car grid. So there you see Dave Carl-Smith stacking the pack behind him. Of course, we've been on a fantastic pole position lap times. We're the only driver to go dip into the 1 minute 56s. And remember, Cosworth owns Green Stripes Racing. Martin Schumacher races for him, so essentially it's kind of an all Green Stripes Racing affair up front. It's team boss versus driver. Reigning champion Simon Cattell. Scott Bennett surprised as well. He surprised me very much. He's 4. Eric DeVite, I've seen he races for the SRO Touring Car League, and he is ran very well in races 2 and 3, so he should be pretty handy with these BMWs. Same mod as well. OJ Clark, Lee Morris as well. What can he do from 7th on the grid? And of course the likes of Tom Parker, also Lewis Redshaw. Bart DeVos, 2nd ever championship, only qualified 12th, but he's still in there to make it work. And I do believe that I think we possibly have Mr. Nick Rowland with us too. Nick, are you there?
I am indeed. A very good evening to you, Scott.
Excellent stuff. Just about to get ready for the start then, so good to have you here just in time. So here come the 5 red lights. They will, before you know, they will go out. And off we go then for the first start of the Masters Series 2012. Decent start from Carl Smith on the outside of the front row. But look at that, Schumacher's going to draw alongside him towards turn 1. Cattell slotted into 3rd, and the three-way fight going on for 4th place between that. In fact, Schumacher's just at edge Carl Smith towards turn 1 into the lead, and DeVite's up to 4th already. He's gone round the outside of Scott Bennett into the first chicane. In fact, but he has done it, so Lee Morris is up to 6th already.
Tibet's just spun Cattell actually, half spun in and come out the exit of the first chicane there, so Tibet and Cattell getting together. It's allowed Scott Bennett through and Mark Stanton, and looks like Boyd Bryson's gone around the outside of Cattell as well, so kicked off there from 3rd place backwards. Tom Parks moving to 8th, Lee Morris has dropped from 7th to 9th, I believe, as Bart DeVos currently sits in the inside the top 10.
Down to the Rozier for the first time, and Schumacher under pressure from his GSR team boss Carl Smith then. And one effort for Scott Bennett. He's no disrespect to him, he's normally not that fast a driver in the single series, but he seems to have taken to the Masters Touring Car like a duck to water. He's doing a fantastic job in 3rd place. As you watch now from the, if we can get to the rear wing now of Martin Schumacher's car. Have a look, let's get to it. There we go. Looking back at this awesome looking black and red BMW, as Tvite's now taken 3rd place from Scott Bennett. I've just noticed on my screen, so Tvite now sits 3rd. But I think there is now a battle going on between these two as Tvite heads down towards the Ascara chicane. Still Schumacher leading from Carl Smith. And I was expecting probably a few more incidents with these BMWs as it is touring cars, but it seems to be that for the most part everyone's managed to get through the first lap fairly cleanly. And as I say, there's a car that went across the gravel that looks to me as if that's actually Tom Parker went through. He's lost a few positions. Parker's down to 12th place, so already some running into troubles, but at the moment it's been, apart from a couple of incidents, a fairly clean first lap so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Tibet's got round Bennett, and Bennett's just been able to hold on to that rear wing currently, so he's still having a good race. Simon Cattell's actually now to 5th position. Lee Morris has gone from 9th to 6th, I think, in that slight moment there for Tom Parker, so he's already up into 6th position. Lost the toe though currently, but he is getting pushed forward, shall we say, from Mark Stanton, and also Boyd Bryson's not too far behind as Stanton closes in on Morris, but just in front of the type. Bennett's just gone down the inside of Tibet into turn 1. He has indeed. Can he hold the corner though? That's the question. He does slight contact, just a bit of rub in there, but he's been able to hold it. So Bennett goes back up into 3rd place. Tibet drops it into 4th place. Cattell latched onto the back of them in 5th, and Morris was able to hold off Stanton for 6th position.
Heading through the Curva Grande for the 2nd time then, and excellent pass it was from Scott Bennett to reclaim the 3rd place. That could be a battle that goes on all race long, but I think they possibly could be battling once again as they flick through the Rozier for the 2nd time. Just watching
just a quick note as well from rear of the field, 31st position, now up to 20th is James Shepherd. Missed out on qualifying. He's just passed Phil Cullen going into the first chicane there, and is now onto the rear wing of Lewis Redshaw. So James Shepherd from the rear of the field already into 20th.
Back with the leaders, and Schumacher is still holding off, although I think just behind. Have we got something developing for 4th place? We have. It's a fight with reigning champion Cattell trying to pull alongside on the outside, but Tibet is wise to that move. But Cattell is wise to his defences, and I think Cattell was going to try and move down the inside, but I think he didn't want to risk ending his race, the chance of a decent result so prematurely, and thought better of it. But these three looks like they're going to be battling all race long with a final podium spot. I remember the finishing order of race 1 will decide the starting order for race 2, so obviously the higher up you go, the better chance you'll have of a victory. As Dwight looks to the outside, he's got good straight line speed, good toe off Bennett in front of him as well, and will he be prepared to go around the outside? And he had a look. Oh, in fact, it's very risky. In fact, he might just pull it off, in fact. Cattell's, and actually, that's allowed Cattell to sneak up the inside of the Tiger Express car and grab the toe off Bennett. And they're going to go side by side out of Parabolica and onto the pit straight. So already, Schumacher sets the fastest lap of the race, by the way, on the 1:58.6. That's been trumped by Simon Kettel. As Kettel now goes to the inside of Bennett. They're going to go. They're almost going to go 3 wide, and now Twice is going to try and take it 3 wide towards the first corner.
Yeah, Scott Bennett's gone very deep on the brakes and been able to hold it all the way around the outside. That's a tremendous effort. As Lee Morris has closed very much so as they hit the braking zone. He's now closing on the Group 3 in front, dropping Mark Stanton and Bart the Boss just behind. But Tved against Kettel's on again, but Bennett looks like he's very capable under braking. Looks like Dave Carl Smith, the race lead, is struggling for the top end speed. Has fantastic speed through the corners, but just does not have the capability in a straight line at the moment over Schumacher. As it looks like we have Luke McKee off just the edge of the second chicane.
Yes, there he is, Luke McKee in the Monsters, one of the Vortex GP Monster sponsored cars. I think he's waiting for the rest of the field to go through, although I'm not sure if that car's actually moving. Has he stalled it? No, he's kept it going. You see there, he's trying to move the field, and eventually he does get going, so he's definitely still in the race, but obviously he's a long way down. Meanwhile, looking back at the front, Schumacher still leads this race. The gap is only just about, I'd say, a quarter of a second, as Carl Smith definitely putting him under pressure. I've noticed that we've had a couple of retirements already. We've had Jeff Mead and Miles Dixon out on the first lap already, so that's a shame. It's not really how they wanted to start their Masters campaigns, but looking back to the lead, looking back now for Martin Schumacher's silver Innovision BMW, Carl Smith is just about tagging onto the toe, but it seems to be that maybe Schumacher has got slightly less rear wing, so that possibly could give him a slight advantage on the long straights here at Monza.
Yeah, it looks like he has that advantage, but Carl Smith's so good at closing in the corners that it's allowing him to always stay in that toe as they come onto the start straights. It's working out currently for Carl Smith, as it looks like now Kettel's going to try and make an impression on the back of Scott Bennett. Kettel's got some great toe-ups in the next car, so Kettel carrying less downforce also here, as he's going to go to the outside of Scott Bennett this time, heading down towards turn 1, topping out in this 5th gear at 250 kilometres an hour. They'll hit the brakes. Bennett again, very capable under braking. Oh no, Kettel's even better, is he? No. Bennett takes a lot of curbing and has been able to hold on to position. Lee Morris is now on the back of Eric Tveit as well, so there's going to be a 4-way battle for 3rd position. Just behind them, there's Stanton and DeVos with Boyd Bryson not too far off either.
Also, it's no surprise Morris is closer quickly. He set the fastest lap of the race last time round, so he's definitely showing what he can do so far. We know essentially that. Just going to quickly pause. I think that's just Eric Tveit trying to get up the inside of Simon Kettel. He might do the switch back out of the Roger chicane, but not quite. But that's now allowed Morris to really close up. He's now darted out to the outside and will grab the toe down the short straight towards the first Lesmo. And he's being brave. He's going to try it around the outside. And as it worked, not quite. He's been pushed onto the edge, onto the AstroTurf on the edge towards the second Lesmo. So Tveit was, I call that a fair defence, because I think Morris was a bit ambitious trying to go around the outside. All credit to him to try it, but Tveit had the right to defend the racing line. So at the moment, it still stays as Kettel in 4th, Tveit 5th, and Morris 6th. So these three, of course, are trying to keep in touch with Bennett. I'm actually quite impressed at how he's now starting to not even just hold 3rd place, but pull away from these three now without getting any aid of a toe. It's impressive stuff from Scott Bennett there.
Absolutely, it's just showing because these guys are battling behind. It's allowing him to pull away, and Kettel just got very wide at the exit of Ascari there, and it's allowed Tveit to go to the outside just before Parabolica, with Morris looking pretty menacing behind also. Bennett, though, is just able to edge away as Carl Smith still sits underneath that rear wing of Schumacher. Tveit is, they're so close together. Morris is now in the toe. This is going to help him hugely as he comes out the final corner of Parabolica, and will try and toe up to the back of them and make a move down to turn 1. Looks like Morris is actually struggling a little bit with the straight line speed though, so he looks like he may be carrying a touch more downforce as he now toes up to the back of Simon Kettel. He does indeed. He's going to brake very, very late and get turn 1, is he? Oh, Tveit's gone around the outside of Kettel. Kettel was so early on the brakes, it's allowed Tveit to maintain position, and Morris has moved up a spot as well, so Morris goes to 5th, Kettel's down to 6th. This puts Tveit trying to close in on the back of Bennett now, but Bennett's out to nearly a second advantage. A great drive here from Scott Bennett.
Looking back from the rear of Lee Morris's Revolution Motorsport BMW, you can see the reigning champion Simon Kettel looming largely in mirrors. Remember, these two have had some beef with each other earlier on back in Hungary in Super League, and seems to be that they're continuing their battles here on the track in Monza in the BMWs. Meanwhile, the lead, still looking at the leaders, as we quickly switch to them, and Schumacher still holding off, and that gap has been static at pretty much 2 to 2.5 tenths between these two. So it seems to be that Schumacher, as we possibly suspected, does have maybe slightly less rear wing, and as a result, he's just able just to hold off Carl Smith down the straights, because Carl Smith is in the toe, but he's not actually closing as much as he probably would have liked.
No, Carl Smith just maintaining his gap. Just probably wants to just pull the advantage out from the guys behind and may make the move later on in the race as well. So Carl Smith just holding station, just trying to edge away from those guys behind. It's at the 3.4 seconds between him and Scott Bennett, as Bennett has a gap still at 9/10 of a second, as Morris looks like he's going to try and make a move past Veet. Now what's happened to Simon Cattell? Simon Cattell's gone off at Ascari. He's now dropped down to the 9th position because Boyd Bryce has just gone by, and so is David John. Possible damage on his car also, so Cattell's had a moment. Eli Beer's closing in as well. So yeah, and yes, he has his pit request light on, so he's got damage as well, Simon Cattell, so that's very, very unfortunate, because he was having a great race, but Morris has come off a Parabolica now. Lincoln looks the inside to Veet, going down towards turn 1. We'll try and pick up the toe of Bennett in front of him. He's quite far back though, and look at the speed difference there. Veet definitely carrying a lower downforce, and Morris has just got that touch more wing. It's compromising at the moment. Can he go late on the brakes? Veet's even later, very confident under braking Veet, and it's allowed Morris just has to tuck in underneath that rear wing again, as they are closing on Bennett on that time as well. 2/10 could come out of his time.
I also just watched look, the guys are seeing the replay there of Simon Cattell. It looks like he actually suffered some damage before he got to Ascari, because he actually been passed by Bart de Vos, so he lost a lot of time. So I think he possibly lost some time somewhere up at the one of the Lesmos, and that obviously the damage that he received caused him to go across the Ascari gravel trap, and he obviously is now back down to, as far as I can see, but I think he has just pitted. So the reigning champion already in trouble. He's in 22nd. He's leaving the pits now, but not exactly a very good. In fact, he's just gone to 23rd, is now, and 24th even, is now just Pavlanovsky and Alistair Brown side pass. So not a good start for the reigning champion. He was looking so good already. Quick jump in with James Shepherd, and surprisingly, he's actually dropped all the way back down somewhere, because he was running fairly high up. He's back down to 21st again, so I think something's happened to him along the way. But we're still watching now the battle for. In fact, look at that. Whilst we're talking, you probably have picked it up. Tavite's now taken 3rd place, and Bennett's gone. Bennett locks up under braking, and almost took out Lee Morris there. He's kept it. He's not so much into the gravel trap as Bart de Vos goes through, and that's Scott Bennett down to 5th place. In fact, actually, Mark Stanton's gone through as well, so that's now Scott Bennett down to 7th. We're going to replay of that, and we can see it here. Watching here on the replay now. Dwight got through, and then Morris looked to the inside, put Scott Bennett under pressure. Was there contact? No, I don't think there was. I think Bennett just lost it all on his own under braking, and Morris was very careful not to end his race either. And then just watching there is De Vos and Stanton had to be very careful as well to get round him as well.
We've just come on to the 7th lap now, and look, this is where Carl Smith's going to make his move. Is he? Not quite. He looked to the inside of Schumacher. Whoa! 2 winging through turn 1 there, right over the inside chicane, and got 2 wheels clean up and into the air there as he tries to close in on Schumacher. Looked like he was going to make a move down into the first chicane, but decided to back out of it just at the very last moment as he tries to close in onto the back of Martin Schumacher now. Martin Schumacher has led this race all the way through. The gap is up to 4.3 seconds between Carl Smith and Veet, and he's going to have Lee Morris all over his rear wing very, very shortly. Carl Smith is trying his best to get some straight line advantage over Schumacher. He's just been hold this advantage. He's on lap 7. He's got 1 more to go after this in his 8-lap race. First race of 3 this evening. Obviously, we also, as Scott I'm sure has already alluded to, about the weight penalties that will come afterwards. But Carl Smith has just come out the 2nd Lesmo, and he has closed that gap again, and it still remains in and around 2/10. But I think the straight line advantage is just compromising him at the moment, as Morris has fallen to 9/10 behind Veet.
You did actually mention about the weight penalties. I did actually completely forget about that. But right, if the top 5 in the first 2 races will get weight penalties each. As to what the amounts are going to be, I did look on the wiki for the Master Series. There wasn't actually any information as to the exact weights that are going to be applied. But yes, there will be weight penalties applied as they do get in real touring cars. As still watching here with the leading 2. Cosmas, look down the inside of Parabolic, and Schumacher's gone wide onto the gravel, and Cosmas almost follows him. And that It was looking so good for Schumacher. In fact, look at that. They've got through now.
It's Veet. Veet's coming by. Whoa, on the grass!
Oh!
He came from the grass and Dave Carl Smith let off because he knew he tapped him. I think Carl Smith got caught out by how early Schumacher actually braked for Parabolica. He braked so early for Parabolica, it completely caught Carl Smith out. Carl Smith had to back off, gently conduct, letting Schumacher back through. Veet, though, in the process has taken the lead, and Lee Morris is all over the rear wing now of Carl Smith. This is incredible as he tries to close in. Veet is trying. Oh, now Schumacher's bumped over the curb just like Carl Smith did the lap before. And he's nudging him again. He's nudging him again. He's nudging. Schumacher's all over the place here. Carl Smith's going into the inside now. Now that was a lot more fair because it was Schumacher that had run wide off that first curb. That's absolutely fine driving from Carl Smith there. Lee Morris is pushing Dave Carl Smith by him, and he's following him as well. Now, can Morris brake later than Schumacher can? No, he can't. Schumacher brakes extremely late. Will he get it pulled up? He does. So Morris, now still in his fourth place, hits a lot of curb there also, as Carl Smith defends his line. But it's Veet that now leads this race. Incredibly, Eric de Vries is now leading this race for Tiger Express from Carl Smith. Schumacher just behind, Lee Morris and Bart de Vos is 4 seconds behind them.
I watched Eric's fight at the Sim Racing Online Touring Car Championship as well, and he actually got a lightning start in the race 3 year, starting third, got a great start to get pole position, moving to the lead, and kind of fell backwards a bit, but he seems to have fallen on his feet here, and the Norwegian is heading towards the win of the season opener. Just behind, we're going to battle for third place between Morris and Schumacher. Schumacher has the inside line, but who's going to be last of the late breakers down here? And I think Schumacher's just about going to have it. He goes over the curb a bit, but Morris holds on for the moment on his rear view. Is he going to try and grab himself a podium here? Morris isn't normally a touring car specialist, but he's going to damn well try and get himself a podium in his first touring car race since the controversial events that he was pretty much mostly responsible for back in Goldenport last year. As down towards the final corner they go. We'll keep track of those as round the final corner comes Eric Tveit. He was fourth, third at one point, but after a seemingly amazing amount of luck he's fallen into, Eric Tveit comes across the line and takes the win in the first race on the new 2012 Masters Series ahead of Dave Carl Smith, and just on the line
0.003 of a second I think Schumacher's got him by. Morris actually passed him through Parabolica, but Schumacher has the top end speed and he beat him by 0.003 of a second at the line. Carl Smith second place, that's incredible.
It's closer on my screen, it's 1,000th of a second on my screen. I've got also coming through, we've got Bart de Vos in 5th place as Eric Tveit does some donuts to celebrate. There is your winner, and looking at the rest. Oh, and then as the rest of the field just come through, and looking at the rest of the field, Scott Bennett got back up to 6th after his spin up at the Escarre chicane. In fact, let's go for the top 10 overall. So Eric Tveit, after an unfortunate series of events between Schumacher and Carl Smith, where they both went off at the Parabolic on the penultimate lap, takes the race win for Tiger Express ahead of the Halcyon Racing car of Dave Carl Smith. Martin Schumacher grabs 3rd place despite leading the race for the majority of the first round. Lee Morris finishes behind him by, according to my screen, 1,000th of a second. And it was a close finish as well. I was watching the SRO touring cars, but we'll get onto that in a second. 5th place was Bart de Vos. Some stuff from him. He finished 2nd in the championship last year. He stays on form, gets grabs himself a 5th place. 6th place, after his impressive form, is Scott Bennett. 7th finishes Mark Stanton. Good stuff from him for constant racing. Tiger Express makes sure that they're the only team with correction, the only team apart from Simic Motorsport to get 2 cars in the top 10. He finishes in 8th place ahead of Boyd Bryson in 9th, and then in 10th place we had OJ Clark, and rounding out the top 15 because points go down to 15th here in the Masters Series. 11th place we had Kenny Liebherr. And running down the rest of the field, Kenny Liebherr was 11th, as we said. 12th was Lewis Redshaw. 13th was David Stanton. 14th was Ehab Abbas. And running out the top 15 was Philip Cullen. So, pretty exhausting first race so far. Of course, the race 2 grid will be the direct result of race 1, so it will be Eric Tveit on pole position. Let's get your thoughts. Let's just analyse that race from start to finish. It was a good start, decent from the front row from Schumacher and Carl Smith, and Schumacher seemed to have the edge down towards turn 1, and from there it seems to be that Carl Smith just didn't seem to have just that extra little something to get past him. It was only when it got to the penultimate lap at the Parabolica when the whole situation started to change.
Yeah, exactly. Carl Smith definitely has the cornering speed and the advantage looks like through the majority of the corners, but when it gets onto the straight, the downforce plays out, and that it doesn't work out for Carl Smith. But I think if he was able to navigate his way around, he'd be so quick through the corners that he'd probably pull away eventually from Martin Schumacher. So I think Carl Smith may have the overall pace edge, but Martin Schumacher obviously leading, and he was able to hold on because of that straight line advantage. And in the tow, it's only about 250 clicks that currently Carl Smith's able to achieve, where others have been achieving in the slipstream with lower wing around about 254, and that can make a big difference.
And also we saw some really impressive drives today with the fact of obviously Eric Twite taking a victory as well. Lee Morris, Scott Bennett. I mean, obviously with the level of competitiveness up at the front, it seems to be that we hopefully we can get to more races like we did in race 1. Obviously with the kind of battling that we had before, because it seems to be that always when it comes to touring cars, the racing's never dull.
No, the racing is definitely not dull when it comes to touring car. It's very much. It's been branded a couple of times as entertainment racing as opposed to actual pure racing. So people debate that to no end, but it's certainly fantastic racing that when we usually see it. And the Master Series in race 1 has already delivered a phenomenal start to the 2012 campaign.
They say motorsport's not a contact sport. I think touring cars are definitely an exception because there's plenty of it, I think. So, but when you think we do, I think someone's just jumped into the commentary box. Let me just spot and see who that is. Ah, it's Mr. Lee Morris.
Lee Morris, yes.
Who finished in 4th. So, Lee, just between races, we've got DCS in here as well. So we've got Dave Carl Smith. Dave Carl Smith and Lee Morris have jumped in. Dave, DCS, let's start with you. Obviously, you started on pole position with a brilliant lap time that you put in. Then, just talk us through off the start, because it seems to be that your Green Stripes Racing driver, if you like, Martin Schumacher, just seemed to have the edge on you through up towards turn 1 and for the majority of the race.
Yeah, I hadn't really practiced the start, and the gearing was horrible for the race. It was too long for the start. I had great traction off the first chicane, but then I just didn't have enough in the slipstream to be able to do anything.
And then just talk us through what happened on the Parabolica on the penultimate lap. Seemed to be that it looks like you were caught off guard by just how early Schumacher was braking. Was that the case, or was there any kind of contact?
I think he braked at his normal point, and I braked a little bit late, trying to stay close, going onto the straight, and I just clipped his rear bumper, which I'm very sorry for.
Still second place. It's not all bad. So excellent stuff from you. Of course, you'll start second on the grid behind Martin Schumacher. Obviously, you'll be gunning for the race win. Do you think it's going to be possible, or do you think that it's going to be more the same from Schumacher today?
I think, well, it's Eric on pole because he won.
Sorry, Eric on pole. Sorry.
But I think Martin and Simon will come through because they'll be running less success ballast than me. So I think this one will be pretty tight.
Excellent stuff. Well done. Let's go to Lee Morris. Lee, you're not normally known as a as a touring car specialist. You're normally known for single seaters, but I have to admit that's not too bad. Your first race since, well, less about Golden Port the better, but since last year, obviously you seem to have adapted back to touring cars fairly quickly.
Well, it was only about say half an hour ago that's really found something. But I've really got to thank Dave Carl Smith obviously so much. He's helped me so much this last say half hour. Give me a few tips on that, and straight away, I mean, in that race there, it was just, the pace was brilliant. I mean, I couldn't do it in qualifying because I only just learnt the tips that he gave me and that, and all of a sudden the race settled down. I was able to run my pace, and it was superb. I've never been so competitive in, say, touring cars sort of thing before, in tin tops, and it was going to be a real struggle before the race. I wasn't even aiming to get in the top 15 before qualifying. It was crazy, but yeah, big thanks to Dave, and that race was just superb.
Also, that finish is very close because it seemed to be just as throughout the race, your pace seemed to get stronger and stronger. You eventually got caught up in the battle for the podium places. And just how close was it right at the end? Because according to my screen, you lost out on the podium by literally 1,000th of a second.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was quicker than him. All the way through that stint, I was catching Dave and Martin. I'm not sure if they were battling as such, but I was taking like half a second out of my lap, and I did 57.5, I think. And then I got caught up with the Bennett battle for third and that. And I couldn't really do nothing then. I couldn't really do my lap times because obviously I was stuck behind that and Tevette. I made a couple of mistakes and I was behind Tevette, which lost him because I reckon I could have followed him through maybe into second when the two leaders slipped up. But then coming off the final corner, I tried to dummy him out after the final corner. I tried to set him up for the exit, which worked. But then, as Dave said, we had a bit of a trouble with the slipstream and that. I think we both got similar top-end gears on our cars, and it seemed difficult to do anything against him in a straight fight across the line. I think, like you said, I missed out by the smallest of margins. But I didn't even expect to get fourth, so I'm really happy with that.
Excellent stuff. Nick, do you have any thoughts for Dave or Lee at all?
No, I believe Race Direction are pretty eager to get race 2 underway, so I think we'll leave Dave and Lee to head off to race 2 before we probably interview them again afterwards. So best of luck to the pair of you, and I think Race Direction are just trying to sort out the grid and the weight penalties now for grid race 2.
Most definitely. Thank you for that, Dave and Lee, and best of luck in race 2. Hopefully you had both have a good race. So, moving into race 2, and of course, Nick, we've got the weight penalties being applied as well, and the grid is being set. What are your expectations now we're going into the second race, now that we've got the grid's now a direct result of race 1? Are you expecting more of the same, or do you think that, as Dave said, the likes of Simon Cattell and Malika and James Shepherd are going to come back through the field after their antics in race 1?
Well, I think it's going to be very interesting now the weight penalties have now been added. Obviously, the downforce of the cars that are out front are going to pay dividends, so obviously the weight being added, various drivers will be able to compensate it. But Carl Smith, for example, possibly struggling more so with the straight line speed due to the gearing, by the sounds of it, both him and Lee have selected. So they may potentially struggle with the extra weight on board, but I don't think Veet was expecting to have that amount of weight straight away. So we will have to see now if Schumacher, Morris, and Carl Smith, and also Veet will be able to come through the field, because they did look at the class act. Cattell also, I think Cattell could be the dark horse for it, because he had tremendous speed other than in his instance. So I think Cattell could be one of the dark horses, obviously with no weight penalty at all on him.
He is the reigning champion. It was rather unfortunate to have the misfortune that he did. Of course, he finished roughly round about. I think he actually obviously finished outside the top 10. So of course, as Dave said, no weight penalty, and we'll be interested to see just how he carves his way through the field. We have got literally 90 seconds before we get the end of the warm-up to go towards race 2. Eric, I've seen him obviously in other touring car series, as I mentioned. He seems to be a really good starter. I think in one of the races, one of the other races I covered when he was actually racing in the touring cars, in these exact same cars, he started outside the top 10, and he actually managed to get himself to roughly about, say, 7th or 8th by the end of the first lap. So he's definitely a good starter. So he'd be definitely one to watch, and of course, so will Martin Schumacher from what will be 3rd place on the grid. So I think maybe Carl Smith's going to have to, as you said, he'll have to probably work on his start in this kind of the very short amount of time that he's got. But I'm pretty sure that's one thing he wants to brush up on before we get underway for race 2.
Well, in all fairness to Dave Carl Smith, it's been alluded to now a good few times this season, in Monaco especially in Super League, what a phenomenal starter he is. And he, generally speaking, is probably one of the best throughout the entire GPVWC it starts. His clutch control is fantastic. I think the gear selection they've opted for, though, is hindering him slightly, which, as long as he can adapt to it, like the way I know he can, he should be able to get those starts sorted, because he nearly got it sorted in front of Martin Schumacher, but just not quite enough. So I'm sure Carl Smith will be able to make some sort of advantage back up with that clutch start that he's always been very, very good at. But I think the grid is just being set now, and we're moving to race very shortly.
Absolutely. Whilst we're just waiting, we'll quickly run over the calendar for the rest of the season. Of course, we're here at Monza for the first 3 races. August 30th, we'll then move over to Silverstone, another 3 races. Of course, then we'll head over from Europe onto the continent. We'll go to South America, up to Curitiba in Brazil. That'll be on the 13th of September. Then 2 weeks later, we'll be off to America, to Laguna Seca, for rounds 10 to 12. Then we've got a special race, it looks like, coming up on the 11th of October, which is going to be held in the evening, and it's going to be at Spa-Francorchamps, so that should be quite interesting. No more details on exactly how long it's going to be, but looks to be, that seems to be one of the centrepiece event of the series. Then, as we did last year, the penultimate race will be at the fantastic Mount Panorama circuit in Bathurst. Then we'll finish the season under the lights of the Marina Bay Street circuit in Singapore on the 8th of November. So it definitely seems as though that the actual race organisers have done exactly what they wanted to, and just wanted to end the series on the same kind of time as all the other series, so that it all comes to a nice kind of crescendo at the end of the year. But I think some interesting track choices there. One circuit I'm looking forward to, definitely looking forward to Spa and to Bathurst, because they're 2 pretty awesome circuits for touring cars to race on, Bathurst especially.
Bathurst was pretty special last year as well for these guys in the Masters Series. It was a very good race. One particular race I see is popping up more so in sim racing, but also real life. I believe the V8 supercars are going there now. Is Singapore? Singapore getting more and more attractive for races, and I believe it's next year potentially. I don't think it's this year, but next year. I think they're modifying the layout as well to assist more overtaking, for example. So I definitely think Singapore's on the up, and it looks like having a few more of these races is getting more and more inviting for them. So Singapore to round out the season for what we will have the Masters Series there, Super League and Super Cup there, so I think it's a bit of a party in Singapore.
Absolutely. Right, what has now finished before race 2, so I'm pretty sure the race director is going to get us underway. I think, hopefully, if we can get a race like we did in race 1, I think we'll be all, for races 2 and 3, I think we'll be all set for the evening, I think, because touring cars never fails to entertain, and I think that I'm pretty sure that Dave Cosworth will want to continue the fight with Martin Schumacher. Hopefully Simon Patel will have a race where he doesn't have any dramas and he can continue his championship winning form from 2011, because of course he was the championship winner. What's interesting is that he didn't actually win any races until they got to Bathurst. I think he won the sprint race in Bathurst and then won the 2 races of the final round in Donington. So, but before that he had scored about 5 or 6 podiums, so it proves that you don't have to win every single race. You just have to put in a consistent number of results in order to stand the best chance of winning the championship.
Absolutely, I think that consistency can pay off at the end of the season, and that's certainly what he did last season, and we'll look to do it again. Not got off to the greatest of starts, though, in all fairness to him, unfortunately. But for this race 2, we have a Woods 1-2. We have Mark Fuller on pole position with his teammate and team manager. No, sorry, he's not the team manager at all. At Ollie Woods. Mark Wicks is next to him. He's returned to Woods Racing for the Masters Series, where he has raced Super League for, I don't know how long actually. He has been there, but obviously gone off now to create his own team this 2012 season in Super League. But Mark Wicks returns to Woods for the Masters Series. So Wixie is in 2nd place, followed by then Phil Cullen. Ehab Abbas with Vortex is in 4th. David Stanton, Constant Racing in 5th place. Lewis Redshaw is in 6th for Hawkeye. Kenny Lydia for Revolution Motorsport is in 7th. OJ Park for Simic Motorsport is in 8th. Boyd Bryson, RB Racing 9th. David Junt is for Tiger Express Motorsports is in 10th. Mark Stanton, Constant Racing is in 11th. Scott Bennett, who had a pretty eventful race one in the end, for Racing Team Sheraton is in 12th place with Bart DeVos in 13th for Simic Motorsports. And Scott, I think you'd be able to run down the rest of the field there?
Yeah, that's fine. 13th place I've got here is Bart DeVos, as you said. 14th is going to be Lee Morris, and then 5th, obviously for Revolution Motorsport. 15th is Martin Schumacher, and we've restarted. Once I did wonder, because it looks as though I think we've done what we're going to do in race 3, because I think the grid's been reversed by accident, because I think we should be the direct result of what happened in race 1. So I did wonder why the 2 Woods cars are on pole position. I was wondering it should be rectified, I think.
I think there's a slight confusion here. I believe race 2 is meant to dictate also what race 3 is when they switch the grids. That is the way I read it. We will see. Okay, yes, it has been modified. You're absolutely right there, Scott. Looks like there was a slight mistake from race direction there, and they are modifying the grid back to what it was for the race 1 results.
Yeah, I did wonder, because I looked at that. I didn't think that Mark for the 1 race was. It looked pretty unusual seeing Eric Twite back down in 17th. But of course, like I said, that reverse grid format, I said we will see that in race 3. But once we get going, and it's an easy mistake to make. So of course we just restarted the warm up for now whilst we get this all started. Of course, let's have a look. I think possibly they may be debating in the chat. I'll try and see if I can pop in here. So. I think there's some confusion as to. I think there is some confusion as to what's going on. I think possibly, according to what our wiki says here, it does say here that the starting grid for race 2 will be the finishing positions from race 1. The starting grid for race 3 will be a reverse grid from a random position between 14 and 18. So I think maybe someone's possibly misread it on the wiki, and they've gone ahead and put the reverse grid race 2 as we've mentioned. So easy mistake to make. I think probably just read it incorrectly, but do bear with us for a few minutes whilst we fill that. So, looking through. Also, what's interesting is, of course, is as we have last year, we've had a number of drivers gone with some real-life liveries and sort of real-life inspired liveries. We've seen that Chris Williamson, who's racing for Constant, he had, as we mentioned, he has a livery that's a tribute to. I can just show you this here. It's kind of a tribute to the Peugeot 406 touring car from 1997-98. It's a decent looking livery. Kind of the green and gold fits quite nicely. Also, we've got, I know in fact the FGW team have got painted up just like the Renault Lagunas from the British touring car. So we've definitely got plenty of different liveries and different assorted kind of inspired liveries. And we've got to know that Lewis Redshaw's running a Revolution, his Hawkeye racing car with a Coca-Cola sponsorship, and of course we've got all three of the Halcyon racing cars are running with Vodafone sponsorship. Of course, Dave Cosman has the black. We've then got in Halcyon Racing Dave Cosman has the black. Excuse me. Phil Cullen has the silver, and then I do believe we've got another one in here for Halcyon Racing. There should be another car which has the all red, and I think the race director has now.
I believe that should be Ryan Walker with the all red one.
Ryan Walker. There we go. That's fine. I don't think Ryan Walker is. I don't think Ryan Walker's racing. I can't see him in the list of drivers.
Set correctly, where it is the race results from race 1, but the front 4 drivers have the weight penalty added onto them. So that's Vliet, Carl Smith, Schumacher, and Morris. Vliet will have 40 kilograms, Carl Smith 30 kilograms, Schumacher 20 kilograms, and Lee Morris on 10 kilograms. So that's the weight penalties applied. If anything to go by from the first race, you'd have to say that depending on how the weight affects these drivers, Morris obviously the lightest of those drivers, but with very, very good pace. So it's encouraging for Morris there. And we'll also have to see how Cattell then progresses back through the field also prior to race 3, which is then the reverse grid field, which I believe they are randomly selecting, much like the BTCC does. And for the prior event, it was position 17 that was reversed. So we will see how that works out then for the third and final race, but this race is the race results from the first race along with weight penalties for the front 4 drivers.
Should we try the grid again? So we've got the right order of cars on there. So then, as we said, direct results of race 1, so on pole will be Eric Twite for Tiger Express Motorsports. Alongside him will be second place in race 1, Dave Carl Smith for Halcyon Racing. Third for in division, Martin Schumacher. Fourth for Revolution Motorsport, Lee Morris. Fifth place just behind him, Bart Voss for Simic Motorsport. Sixth is going to be Scott Bennett for Racing Team Grossman. Seventh will be Mark Stanton for Constant Racing. Eighth place is going to be David Juntz for Tiger Express. Ninth will be Boyd Bryson for RB Racing. Rounding out the top 10 is going to be OJ Clark for Simic Motorsport. 11th just behind him, the second Revolution Motorsport car is Kenny Liebeer. 12th is Lewis Redshaw on the Coca-Cola sponsored Hawkeye racing car. In 13th we have David Stanton in the second of the Constant Racing cars. And quickly through the last couple before I hand over to Nick, it's going to be 14th is going to be Ehab Bass. 15th, that's a Vortex GP. 15th is going to be Philip Cullen for Halcyon Racing, and 16th place is going to be Woods Racing. And Nick, if you'd like to take over the rest of the grid.
Yeah, it might work for 16th. Mark Fuller then is in 17th. William Tringas 18th position. Chris Williamson in that Peugeot livery car is in 19th place. James Shepherd has moved up to 20th position from his back of the grid for race 1. Pavel Oknowski 21st. Ian Story in 22nd position. Simon Cattell's got a lot of work to do from 23rd. Wesley Morris is 24th, with Ollie Woods currently sitting in pit lane but in 25th. Keith Story is 26th. Kieran Ryan 27th. Luke McKee is 28th. Tom Parker 29th. Jeff Mead in 30th, and running out the rear of the field in 31st is Miles Dixon. You're absolutely right with the livery cars. I think a lot of these cars have opted to go back to the throwback of the 90s, especially with their liveries for this series, and we've seen it the last few years also. Some of the old liveried touring cars reappearing, which is fantastic to see.
Absolutely. I just noticed on the back of Simon Cattell's car, looks like he's the rear of his car's got some damage on it, or at least the rear of his car's caved in. I'm not sure if he's been hit from behind by someone already on the formation lap. If that's the case, it won't really do his chances to try and move through the field, and he's good if he's suffered any suspension damage. But nonetheless, you're looking at pole setter Eric White, as he's now. I would have thought he tried to stack pack, but I think that's now the job's being felt to Dave Carl Smith, and he's now practicing his few starts trying to find the bite point on the clutch, and he now gets that black Vodafone sponsored Halcyon Racing BMW onto front row of the grid alongside. So as you're looking at it from the rear, it's Dwight on pole on the left, Carl Smith on second on the right, then Schumacher just in front, just behind the pole on your screen there, and then we've got Morris in fourth, and then got DeVos, Bennett, and here come the lights then. So we're getting ready for the starts. Here come the Reds. Before you know, they will go out, and we will be racing again here at Monza. Good start by Dwight, and Castle's going to try and go with him. I think they got an even better start. Look at that, Castle with a rocket start. He's up to in the front already. He's streaking away. Look at that. Already 3 white. Schumacher with 6 from Stanton alongside him already. Down towards turn 1. And Morrison's got a terrible start. He's down to about 6th or 7th already as they bundle down through turn 1. And Bennett's already getting up. There's contact with Stanton. What a start for the Constant Racing driver. Up to 3rd already, it looks like. What a brilliant start he put in. And Morrison's been shuffled down. He's about 5th or 6th. And also there's a car off as well. And also someone who's really jumped, I think, looks to be David Junt. He's up to 7th already. What a start he's put in as well.
Absolutely, Morris had an absolute shock off the line. It looks like he got the initial jump, but then the clutch completely slips and he had no revs whatsoever and fell back through the field. But Carl Smith, as I was alluding to before, with a lightning bolt start, goes into the lead in front of Tavik and in front of Martin Schumacher, closely followed by an incredible start from Mark Stanton. That's a fantastic effort for Mark Stanton there. Scott Bennett's in 6th position with Bart DeVos got to 6th. David Junt, as you said, is in 7th place with Kenny Lybeer into 8th. Ehab Abbas is 9th, and Morris fell down to 10th. 4th to 10th from the first lap from Morris after just a terrible clutch start. Massively unfortunate, real shame there for him, as he will now try and close in. David Stanton's up to 11th place with Phil Curran in 12th. From the rear of the field, we'll just try and see if we can pick out any moves and shakers. Looks like Cattell has got a drive-through, in fact. Some Cattell's been given a drive-through penalty, possibly for cutting into turn 1. So Cattell has got a drive-through and is in 17th from 23rd. We've also got James Shepherd. He had even got one position from 20th to 19th in front of Ian Story. And oh wow, 4 wide. That was Wicks, Ryan, Story, and Cattell there having a bit of a moment as they're all trying to get through for this is over.
Oh, what is it, 3 wide. 3 wide into the parabolica. It's never going to work. It was Bennett. Sorry about that. It was Bennett, DeVos, and Junt in there. Look at that. Oh, and Morris is getting himself into them as well. Look at that. The 2 Revolution Motorsport cars trying to mix it, as well as cars leads the first lap from Twite, then Scrooge, and then it's all literally free for all behind. Is now currently DeVos in Stanley holds 4th, then DeVos he's holding just off Bennett, the 2 Revolution Motorsport cars, as Lybeer's trying to go down the inside of his teammate, and Junt, is he going to get stopped hard?
Morris, what a move from Lee Morris that was. He's taken 2 cars there, as long as he keeps on the track. Oh no, Junt's going to get him back now, isn't he? Yeah, he's going to mug him. But Morris with a fantastic move down the inside. He brakes so incredibly late. He got it over the curb, and it's put him up into 7th place because Junt's on the outside and he's just going wider and wider, and it's allowing Morris to slip up, and he will get that 7th place unless Junt brakes incredibly late. Morris is going to brake even later, is he? He does, and he will go across the nose, and Morris goes from 9th to 7th with an incredible move down the inside at turn 1. In front of him though now we've got Bart DeVos and Scott Bennett. And at the front, it looks like Carl Smith's starting to romp away at a second advantage in front of Viet and Schumacher, with Mark Stanton just holding comfortably in 4th at the moment. He's got 1.5 second advantage over Scott Bennett, but Scott Bennett has a whole train of cars behind him. He's got DeVos, Morris, Junt, Lybeer, Abbas, Stanton, Cullen, Reg. They're all closing up. It's incredible the amount of cars that are all in a straight line there.
Down towards Ascari then for the second time, and there's a lot of battles going on just behind. A huge gang of the cars going. I think we've got a battle between Junt just up front. No, it's Bennett and DeVos at the front. So we can grab those again. Here we go, and look at that. And Morris has tagged onto it already. Bennett goes a lot over the curve. The director has something to say about that. Usually he cuts on a regular basis like that. Excuse me. As now he's under attack from DeVos, and Morris. It looks like he's absolutely on fire. He's taking back the turret like a duck to water. And look how he's trying to squeeze through the gap between DeVos and Bennett. That was never going to work. As DeVos goes down the inside of Parabolica. Right, Bennett has to do the switch back, and Morris will go with him on the exit. And now it's going to be Morris and DeVos side by side onto the pit straight again, and David Junt's going to tag onto them as well. A 4-car train as David Castle sets the fastest lap of the race. Junt by Schumacher in 3rd place with a 1:58.386 as these 4 trundling down the pits. I say trundling, they're firing down it towards probably about 160 odd miles an hour. Look at that, and Bennett's under attack. He's got DeVos on the left, Morris on the right. He's going to be last of a late break. Is it even going to work? DeVos has to brake on the grass, and Morris gets it somehow stopped. Unbelievable part, it's up from 7th to 5th in 1 move. And there goes Junt as well around the outside. He gets the traction out of the Redofiglio chicane onto Curva Grande, and these four are going to be absolutely hammer and tongs for the rest of the race as Bennett now tags onto the slipstream with DeVos. Junt's going to go around the outside, I think, but now that Bennett's going to have that toe from the Hawkeye Racing car in front, and he will try and go down the outside, but DeVos is wise to his advances there, as I think Morris is now going to try and set off after Mark Stanton's 4th place. I think the Constant Racing driver's done well to hold on to that place for now, but the pace that Morris is showing, although I think he got a really rusty exit out of the Rogier corner, and that's now put him under immense pressure now from Bart DeVos once again. Wonderful stuff, and it's in the 3rd lap.
Yeah, Morris got up on the anti-cuts there and it sent him flying up into the air, but he was able to hold the position from Bart DeVos, and Bart DeVos tried to go around the outside but couldn't get it done, and so now Morris is now up into 5th, but he's going to have Bart DeVos challenging up in towards the Ascari chicane. Stanton has a 1.9 second advantage in front, and he is. Morris has got to defend the inside going into Ascari. He'll hold on to it by looks, just take a little bit more curb on the inside. Still a clean move, so Morris holds on, as now he will try and make his way forwards towards Mark Stanton, who's currently still in 4th place, and that's a fantastic effort, it really is. And DeVos will not give it up though, and he's coming back at Morris already, so it looks like DeVos has got the straight line speed over Morris, but Morris is... Oh, he defended that line very well. He moved to the inside. Oh, he braked a little bit too late. He's locked up, and this is going to give DeVos a run out the corner of Parabolica. So they're going to go side by side again this time by to start straight.
Eric Smythe has actually started closing on Dave Carl Smith now. He's really got the gap down to, on my screen, he's got it down to literally less than a second now, 7/10, as Morris retakes 5th place, but DeVos is going to try and snatch it back, and he'll go to the inside here. Will he be able to brake late enough and get it stopped up for the Redofiglio chicane? Answer is DeVos has to back out of it and play safe, but I think Morris has gone straight across the chicane, and he's going to take 4th, but he'll have to give it back to Stanton, otherwise he will receive a penalty, which he does, and I think he's going to have to back off as well, so that he allows DeVos to close back up, because then the stewards will probably deem that as having gained an advantage. But I think Morris in his eagerness just planning out braking himself, trying to hold off the Hawkeye, held off the Belgian, and held him off momentarily. But now he's got a very feisty red and black car all over him. It's down the inside towards the Rogier chicane he goes. I love the way touring cars hop over the curves as they go through the chicane. It's fantastic to watch us. Looking back over the front, and the gap is now back up to 1.1 seconds now between cars, although it's actually looking a bit closer than that, as DeVos really giving it some through the Lesmos and closing in. Now he's going to try and get the toe down the back straight towards the Ascari chicane for what will be, I think, the 4th time in this race, as we've still got 5 laps to go, and keeping an eye on what's going on behind. They seem to have spread out a bit in that battle for 5th and 6th. Quick run down the top 10. So Carlsberg you see currently leading on the screen from Twite in 2nd. Then we've got Schumacher in 3rd, who's dropped back from these two. He's back behind by about, say, 3 seconds or so. Then we've got Stanton in 4th, Morris, DeVos, Bennett, Junt, Stanton. He have a Bass in 10th place, doing very well. Quick note on James Sheppey, up to 15th in his run through. And Simon could tell that his fortunes really aren't getting any better. He's back down in 26th place, and he's really trying to push through. So really, the reigning champion, his return to the series. Looks like so far he's not. It's like so far the outset seems to be he won't keep his crown for very long.
Well, it's a long way to go, but it's just not started out the way he wanted to. And Morris has got a run on Stanton. This is going to go 4th place. He's going to go side by side with Mark Stanton as they go down the start straight. And it looks like Morris got so much straight line speed. He was so fast out of Parabolica. It was incredible the drive that Morris got out of Parabolica. And he just cruised past Mark Stanton. Mark Stanton goes down to 5th. Can Morris hold on to the corner though, can he?
Just.
Yes, he does. But Stanton's going to get a run. He will get a run out the corner, so he can go side by side still. Morris will have to try and defend this inside line now, and it's allowed DeVos to close up. They've just banged doors there as well, Morris and Stanton. DeVos is going to draft behind Morris, and DeVos will push Lee Morris through past Mark Stanton. It will allow DeVos to go past Mark Stanton as well. Morris will brake late. He does. Stanton can't hold on to that position, so he's gone from, well, 4th to 6th in just 2 corners. So Morris now moves into 4th, DeVos to 5th, and Stanton in 6th. And Scott Bennett is looking to try and close on Mark Stanton now also. So now the gap between Morris and Schumacher is 3.5 seconds, and we're on the 5th lap. I don't think he'll be able to pull that back in time, so it could be potentially another 4th place for Lee Morris, with Martin Schumacher in 3rd, Viets in 2nd place, 7/10 behind Carl Smith, who still leads this race.
Watching behind, and Lewis Rachel's got himself into the top 10. He made a great move on Abass into the Rogier chicane. He actually put Abass wide He's down to 13th already, and he's let both Boyd Bryson and Kenny Liebeer through as a result of that. Looking back up at the front just very quickly, the gap is still 7/10 of a second. You can see there, Carl Smith, let's go on to the rear wheel. You can see there is the kind of menacing green car of Eric Tveit as they come through Parabolica once again. And I think possibly Morris wants to try and close in onto the back of Schumacher as quickly as possible. I'm pretty sure he'll want revenge for losing out on the podium by literally a thousandth of a second. He'll definitely want to get just rewards this time around, as the gap's been eked out to now just a fraction under a second. So it seems to be at the moment that Carl Smith has the edge over Tveit at the moment. Tveit definitely showing his skills with a BMW touring car, but seems to be Carl Smith at the moment. He's holding off. Oh! 2 wheels through the Renault chicane. I thought he was going to tip it over for a second there. Got to get a replay of that. If we fast forward it here, just watch this down towards here. Watch down here, down towards here, and across the curb he goes. Wow, that's Gabriele Tarquini style, Donington 1994. How on earth did he keep that one? That's a fantastic piece of driving, and the gap's now down, so just because of that mistake, it's down to about 4.5 of a second. And oh, Carl Smith's looking very raggy onto the gravel, and Tveit's going to get the inside line towards the Lesmo corner, and look at that. Carl Smith is powerless, and Tveit heads up the inside, and Tveit could possibly, if he holds on to this, could be heading for his second win in a row, or if not, if Carl Smith has anything to say about it, because now the Halcyon driver's down, he's driving the inside, they make contact, and Tveit goes a bit wide, but he holds on to the inside line. If he stays there, he'll have the inside line, but he has to duck behind Carl Smith once again. He'll have the toe now, down towards the Ascari chicane. And will he be able to make this move stick, or is he going to get close enough? I think possibly Carl Smith has the straight line speed just about to hold on to that lead, but for the moment there, I thought Carl Smith was looking a bit ragged, and for a moment he momentarily lost his lead, but he's got it back, but just showing the speed and pace that Tveit is already. I'm wondering maybe just with 3 laps to go now, so with a penultimate lap when they come through next time by, just how long he's going to be able to keep it.
Yeah, Carl Smith, a bit of a moment there, a big moment in fact, and he really compromised his lead, but he was so audacious and a fantastic move, to be honest, going into the second Lesmo, and really a ballsy attempt, and he's been able to hold on to his lead, but he ran a little bit deep through Parabolica, got it cut back in time though. It's out to 0.6 of a second now, as they move on to lap number 7, as the Veit will now try and close it on the back of Carl Smith. Now what's the gap between Morris and Schumacher? 57.3 from Lee Morris there. He's cut the gap by nearly a second in front of him to Martin Schumacher there. Martin Schumacher's fast lap was only a 58.3 there, so Morris is looking to really close in on Martin Schumacher now, as the Dave Carl Smith is probably gapped to 0.9 of a second between him and Veit. De Vos is still holding on to that 5th place. He's pulled away from Scott Bennett. He's under attack from Mark Stanton, who's come back at Bennett by the looks of it now, as the battle ensues behind. Junt is in 8th, Redshaw's 9th in the Coca-Cola liveried car. David Stanton is 10th with Boyd Bryson in 11th. Tom Parker's unfortunately retired from this race again, so it looks like his troubles are still ongoing. Kenny Liebeer is in 12th, Ehab Abbas is 13th, James Shepherd's now up to 14th, so it's working out for him just at the moment in time, progressing through the field. Mark Wicks is 15th, Phil Cullen is 16th, Miles Dixon 17th, Mark Fuller is in 18th place, Kieran Ryan 19th, and Simon Cattell is in 20th and just about to go by Kieran Ryan for 19th. He does indeed.
I noticed this is the first chicane, and we caught it on the broadcast, so Tveit actually went a bit too deep into the first part of the Resifilio chicane, lost a little bit of time, and that allowed just to give Cosworth a bit of breathing space, down towards Ascari for the penultimate time, and really Tveit really has closed up under braking here. Gap's about just over 0.3 of a second as they flick through the Ascari chicane, and Tveit really has got to run. I think he possibly has got to run on Carl Smith here, down the back straight towards the Parabolica for the second to last time, and Tveit now is almost just look back here, and look at that, Tveit's a lot closer than we see him last time in this position down towards Parabolica. And he's definitely looking, you look at that, he's moving one side then the other, just letting Cosworth know he's there, and I'm pretty sure, a bit of a twitch I think from the rear end of Tveit's car. Oh, actually look at that, it's great traction, look at the right, he's got out of the Parabolica onto the pit straight. But is Carl Smith's straight line speed going to be greater? I think possibly for the moment, he's got the measure of him just about. Looking at the gap between, looking now between the gap between Schumacher and Morris, I think the gap is now down to less than 2 seconds already. In fact, look, it's closer than that. In fact, look at that, he's down to 1.2 seconds. Morris is absolutely flying at the moment. He's really trying to close in. I think if the speed he's showing at the moment, looking back now from Martin Schumacher's car, and that white car is indeed Lee Morris. Look how close on the braking. He's absolutely just sailing up to the back of the Indivision car. I think he wants this 3rd place more than anything at the moment. He's absolutely hammering away to try and eat into that gap that Schumacher currently has.
Absolutely, and I'm surprised Veit wasn't able to make any sort of impression on Carl Smith, because Carl Smith ran deep in Parabolica, but the way he cuts that back and squares the corner off and really gets some fantastic drives out of it is very, very impressive, and Carl Smith holds on to his lead. But as you said, Morris has closed that gap down to a second now behind Martin Schumacher on this final lap, so it's going to be close towards the end because Morris definitely has the speed. The question is, can he get through the first and second Lesmere quick enough, and through Ascari to be able to get some sort of toe on the back of him? As behind him, it's Bart de Vos currently sitting in a lonely 5th position.
Look at the laps. Look at the lap times last time around. Schumacher did a 1:58.958. Morris's lap time was a 1:57.8, so a second quicker on that lap alone. Morris really is closing in. With the last few corners to go, it's just up front. Carl Smith and Tveit still running a line astern in first and second, and time is running out for both Tveit and Morris, so they're going to make an impression. I think Schumacher looked a bit ragged through the Ascari chicane. Onto the back straight for the final time they come then. The slow-moving car in front, I'm not quite sure who that is.
Ollie Woods.
He's well out of the way. It is Ollie Woods. He's out of the way without a front bumper. But down towards the Parabolica for the final time, and Dave Carl Smith then, well, he got a great start, and he's managed to hold off the pressure from Eric Tveit, and this time Eric Tveit looks like he's going to have to settle for the second step on the podium rather than the top one. The DCS rounds the final corner, and he will claim race number 2 here at Monza of the opening round race weekend of the 2012 GPWC Masters Series. He takes the victory from Eric Tveit, and third place will go to Martin Schumacher. And look at how Morris closed. Look at that. He closed in the gap to literally half a second at the end. So it wasn't as close as the first race. But once again, Schumacher third and Morris fourth. Bart de Vos claims another 5th place. It's again Scott Bennett in 6th. Mark Stanton will take 7th. David Junt grabs 8th place across the line, and Lewis Redshaw's 9th, just ahead of David Stanton. And James Shepherd is just ahead of Ehab Abbas, 11th and 12th. Then quickly rounding out the top 15 is Mark Wicks, Kenny Liebeer, and Miles Dixon. So that's not too bad. All 3 of the Revolution Motorsport cars finished in the top 15. So good effort from them.
Absolutely, yeah. And we just got a few more cars coming through now as well. OJ Clark in 19th place with Boyd Price in 20th. And Keith Story and Kieran Ryan very close together. 21st for Keith Story and 22nd for Kieran Ryan. Will Tringas coming across in 23rd. And then we have Jeff Mead in 24th. And then Ian Story 25th. We'll have Chris Williamson in 26th position. Luke McKee coming across in 27th. We then have further on down the road is Pavel Loknovsky, who's actually just spun in Parabolica, unfortunately, but he will make it back to the line. And Ollie Woods was a lap down, but Pavel Loknovsky coming to the line, and he'll be the final finisher in 28th.
So a pretty, I wouldn't say as an eventful race as we had, especially well, it was at the start, a very busy first couple of laps with some overtaking, kind of cars going 3 or 4 wide, but I think definitely entertaining race nonetheless. But how pleased will DCS be to actually grab the race win rather than the second place he only got in race 1 today?
He's thoroughly pleased with that because he fully deserved it as well. He drove so well. He has just one slight moment, but the corner speed of Carl Smith was incredible, and Carl Smith fully deserving of it. 6th advantage in the end. Schumacher 3.8 seconds behind with Morris at 4.3, so only half a second between those two. And Morris, if he can sort his starts out, will have a much better race and finish if he can just sort those starts out. De Vos in 5th with Bennett in 6th, and I think Bennett has also had another great race as well.
He has indeed. Because very quickly running down the top 15 again, just to confirm it before they switched the session. So it was Dave Carl Smith got the victory by literally only about 6.68 of a second. So as DCS comes into the pits now, I've just seen what's stuff about his pit box. Carl Smith first, Tveit second, Schumacher third. So it's the same 3 guys on the podium, not necessarily in the same order. Morris 4th again, with Bart de Vos 5th, Scott Bennett 6th, Mark Stanton 7th, David Junt 8th, Lewis Redshaw 9th, David Stanton 10th, and rounding up the top 15 for points in order. What a drive for James Shepherd. Good credit to him. He got himself up to 11th in a decent couple of points. Shepherd 11th, Ehab Abbas 12th, Mark Wicks 13th, Kenny Liebeer 14th, and Miles Dixon 15th. Nick, any more general thoughts on what you've seen in race 2?
Well, I think it's been once again proved how successful this series has been. Fantastic, close, fast, frantic racing. And it proved it again in race 2. It'll be great to see now what happens with race 3. because race 3 is where we have the weight penalties and we have the reverse grids, I believe.
One interesting point I think we can raise is that the really unfortunate luck of our reigning champion Simon Cattell. I mean, obviously, he's had 2 races here. I think the first race he went off and had to go back to the pits, repair damage. Second race he had to start near the back and had a drive-through penalty as well. So it's going to be pretty tough for him at the moment. Of course, like I said, reigning champion, his title defence has really got off to the best start possible, has it?
No, Simon Cattell's had an absolute nightmare of the first 2 races at the moment. He's had, I think it was drive-through he actually had in that second race, where it looked like he must have jumped the first chicane at the start of the race, so he had to serve that drive-through and he fell back through the field. Tried to come back at a few drivers, but wasn't able to make up enough positions as the weight penalties are now just being added. So I'm unfortunate there for Simon Cattell, and as the reigning champion, he's got a lot of work to do to catch back up in the point standings already.
And also, I did notice the fact he did get. I think he must have got somewhere hit from someone from behind on the warm-up lap for raced on the warm-up lap for the second race. So maybe that could have caused some damage. But nonetheless, we've got Dave Cosworth and Lee Morris in the commentary box again with us. So let's start with Dave Cosworth again. Dave, that's a bit more like it, wasn't it? Second in the first race, and now first in the second race. You had to withstand quite a lot of pressure from Eric Tveit in this kind of second half of the race. But just talk us through how you were able to resist the pressure.
I think I just had better traction than him. He seemed to have a much better general car, but he couldn't stay with me off the corners, which helped massively, as you saw on the start.
You look as though on a couple of occasions he did get very close to you, but it seemed to me that you were able to just, as you said, with the tractions to hold him off. So, I mean, you've grabbed yourself a second in race 1 and now winning race 2. Do you think hopefully that, obviously with the reverse grids, obviously, do you think there's any chance you could possibly be able to come through the field and get yourself a decent result in the points?
I would hope so. I've got a good start then. Hopefully we can repeat it, get into the top 10 quite quickly. Podium may be difficult. We've got James and Simon are quite a way down, so they should be quite near the front for this. Top 5, I'll be happy.
Good stuff, and let's just turn to Lee again. Lee, it's another bit of a less than average start, but you made up for that carving through the field. Fantastic effort. You were really closing in on Martin Schumacher at the end, but you had some great battles at the beginning of the race, and you managed it on 2 occasions, past 2 cars in 1 move. Just talk us through how you managed that.
Yeah, the start got me. The first start wasn't too bad in the first race, but this time I just bogged down completely, and I lost, like, I think 10 places into turn. I think I was 11th or 12th into turn 1 or something daft. And obviously then I knew Dave were in lead, and I knew doing a lot of pull away Dave and Tveit and that were racing me in race 1. So just basically had to try and carve through as fast as I could. I think they were all clean moves and that from what I felt. I didn't have to redress any positions as far as I'm aware, but yeah, just basically went for it and had some good fun, some really fair racing with people. It was just a shame I couldn't get off the line because the pace is so good, and if I could get up with the leaders early on, I reckon I could challenge for a win.
Do you think if you had a better start, you hadn't been held up in the first couple of laps, that you would have had a chance to catch Martin Schumacher before the end?
Oh, I'd have been in front of him. I'd have been in front of him by so far because the pace is so good. I mean, if they can pull 6 seconds on Martin Schumacher in 8 laps, and I think I had the fastest lap of the race in that one as well for a change. And I can run low 57s race pace when I'm in my own clean air, but it's just, obviously when I got that bad start, I was constantly battling with people trying to get back through, and as soon as I got free air, I did a 57.3, and it was like, where's that come from, you know what I mean? It's just crazy how quick it can be, but I just need to get off line a bit better. I mean, obviously starting downfield now, it's going to be even worse if I can't get off the line.
Well, of course, as we said, because we've got the reverse grid, I think we've just done ahead and done the draw. I think that the number picked was 18, so my calculations, that will put you 15th on the grid. Obviously, seeing how you managed to carve your way through the field and obviously come up from that 10th to 4th in a number of laps, do you think obviously it's going to be a lot tougher with more cars in front of you and a much more crowded start in the midfield, or do you think it's going to be just essentially more of the same as you had in race 2?
But then get...
Okay, I may have lost Lee there because I think he cut out there. I'm not sure if you can hear.
Podium. I'm not quite sure what happened there, apologies for that.
That's not a problem, but we'll wish you, and obviously wish you, Lee and Dave, of course, best of luck in the race. I think obviously we're just resetting the grid, so I do believe if I'm correct, with, like I said, we picked number 18. So, by good fortune, I think that actually put Simon Cattell on pole position for race number 3. So, that's a bit of a turn of fortune for him.
Absolutely, that's a fantastic turn of form. Unfortunately, after everything that's happened, he's been able to move now up into what will be starting race 3 from pole. So we'll have to see now if he can actually hold that out for possibly getting a good haul of points in this race 3, which looks like he will most definitely need.
Absolutely, I think he's. I'm pretty sure he'll be more than pleased with that. So if that's the case, obviously we'll. Race Director is waiting for Lee to come back in and get himself sorted. Then we'll go for race 3. Of course, we'll warm up. Only 5 minutes in there comes Lee back into the game, as we've seen. So now he's back in. Just the administrator just putting all the drivers in their grid slots. And of course, then that means, as we said, more weight penalties have been applied. And of course, like I said, we have the reverse grid. So we'll take you through what's going to happen. And there we go. Race 7 has now advanced. And so we have our grid in front here. So I think it's going to be crucial. As we said, obviously Simon Cattell, we said that he's going to be in pole position, reigning champion. Basically, really, this race is make or break for him to start off his championship. He needs to get himself a good result, ideally a race victory, in order to really at least salvage something from this race weekend here at Monza.
Yeah, this race he really would want to win. I'm sure he's going to be going all out after the problems that he's had in those first 2 races. He'll be gunning for it in his Innovision machinery in front of Mark Fuller and then Phil Cullen. Phil Cullen obviously in the other Halcyon car to Dave Carl-Smith, so Phil maybe a bit of a threat there also coming from 3rd place. James Shepherd, I think, with the dark horse, he was throughout practice one of the quickest cars outright. So James Shepherd in 8th for Smink Motorsport, he may move through the field as well in his 3rd and final race. So he may, and then obviously our main protagonists are way down the field. In fact, it's Bart de Vos is down in 14th place, Lee Morris 15th, Martin Schumacher 16th, Eric de Vries is 17th, and Dave Carl-Smith 18th. So they've got a whole raft of traffic to get by before they get anywhere where they have been in the dizzy heights of the top few positions.
Well, as you're seeing there, pulse at Dave Carl-Smith, Simon Cattell rather, is moving around on there. Let's take you through the grid then, with the top 18 reversed, and as you're seeing that, as we said, Simon Cattell is on pole position for Innovision, alongside him Mark Fuller. That's not Mark Fuller, that's Mark Stan, excuse me, I've just switched to. Let's get it correct. There we go, Mark Fuller in 2nd place for Woods Racing. 3rd, Philip Cullen in the wonderful silver and red Vodafone sponsored Halcyon coloured car. Then we've got in 4th place Miles Dixon, Revolution Motorsport, and behind him is teammate Kenny Liebeer in 5th. In 6th place we've got Mark Wicks in the Woods Racing machine. 7th, Ihab Abbas. In 8th place, as we said, James Shepherd could be a dark horse to come through the field. Obviously, starting that high up, he's showed some real turn of pace in the first 2 races, despite starting down the field. 9th is David Stanton, and rounding out the top 10 is Lewis Redshaw in the Coca-Cola backed 4-car racing car. 11th place is going to be. Oh, actually, had a spin there. I think David Stanton spun on the up at that 2nd Lesma. I think he'll be allowed to retain his position. In fact, there is Lewis Redshaw is waiting for him. David Judd is 11th. 12th place is Mark Stanton. 13th is Scott Bennett, of course. 14th, as we said, as everybody mentioned, is Bart de Vos. 15th is going to be Lee Morris. 16th will be Martin Schumacher. 17th, Eric Zweit. And if you want to resume with the rest of the field, Nick, 19th place. For 18th place, it's going to be Mr. Dave Carl-Smith.
Absolutely, 18th place Dave Carl-Smith obviously just won that last race, race number 2. And for the reverse grid now drops down to 18th. OJ Clark is 19th with Boyd Bryson in 20th. Keith Story is 21st with Kieran Ryan in 22nd. William Tringas is in 23rd with Jeff B 24th. Ian Story is 25th with Chris Williamson in 26th. Luke McKee is 27th in his Monster Energy sponsored car. Pavel Oknovsky is in 28th for Innovision. Ollie Woods is 29th with Wesley Morris in 30th, and it looks like we'll have Simon Crane starting from 31st. And we just now wait for all the cars to line up on the grid as Simon Cattell just comes onto the grid positions now.
Absolutely, he is, as the Pulsar always does, stacking the pack behind him to get them sorted for our 3rd and final race of the evening then here at the opening race weekend, rounds 1 to 3 of the 2012 GPVWC Masters Touring Car Series. There they go, they take their places on the grid, and as you're seeing them right now, oh, that's rather rapid approach. I think we have a Bass there to reverse back into his grid slot, almost landed to the back of, I think it was Kenny Liebeer's car, I think it was. But there we go, as you see them on the screen. Reigning champion Simon Cattell needs a result from here, and he's starting in the best possible place ever. The best possible place is in pole position. Mark Fuller alongside him, what can he do? He's a very experienced driver, as is Phil Cullen and Miles Dixon. So here we go, one last time tonight. We wait for the 5 red lights, and before you know, they will go out. And for the final time this evening, we are racing again here at Monza. A good start for Cattell, but look at the start that Phil Cullen's got through the middle of both Fuller and Cattell. Getaway from the Halcyon racing driver down towards turn 1, and again they're going to choose. You've got customers on the grass, as you see there, down towards, as got a couple more cars on the grass, down towards turn 1 they go, and it is indeed Cullen leading, Cattell second, and Dave Stanton's really moved up to 6th place already, so the Stanton brothers, but Eva Bass is up to 3rd place already. I think it's James Shepherd's. It's all going off so
there was a spinner at the front, and it's caused absolute chaos. Oh, Shepherd and Dixon got together. That Shepherd's just been put in the barrier. Dave Carl-Smith, that was incredible. He went up to 11th place, he dropped back to about 50th, and all that chaos is now back up into 9th place. Miles Dixon's just been able to carry on behind Carl-Smith, but yeah, I think James Shepherd's been speared into the barriers. That was massively unfortunate there by Miles Dixon. That was really not sporting driving at all there. As Shepherd's now fallen back way through the field. Where is Martin Schumacher? Pavel Oknowski's just jumped over the second chicane in front of Wesley Morrison and Kenny Liebeer. Schumacher is in 25th. And where's Lee Morris? Lee Morris is in 30th with a drive-through. Oh, this is going terribly for our drivers that have had a fantastic race already, but Morris has got a drive-through.
And no front bumper.
And no front bumper as well. So it's Carl-Smith that's able to capitalise. He's in 9th and about to go past Mark Wicks for 8th, I believe, into Ascari. He will brake as late as he possibly can behind Kieran Wright. He does, so he goes up a position. Miles Dixon's going through on the inside and he wipes out Mark Wicks there. But Wicks, he's able to just be able to hold on. It's allowed Redshaw to get by in the Coca-Cola car. Redshaw, Wicks, he's actually got a massive dent in his rear bumper now as well. Lee Morris has not been has had that drive-through now revoked. And it's been given to OJ Clark, so I believe OJ Clark may have had some sort of...
No, that's been removed. I think OJ Clark did have a drive-through, that's been removed as well, so...
Ah, I see, okay. Simon Cattell now leads on lap 1 by nearly 2 seconds in front of Phil Cullen, who was in 2nd place. Ehab Abbas is in 3rd. Mark Fuller is in 4th, but under heavy attack now from David Stanton in the sprint livery car, NASCAR Cup car, as he goes to the inside going into turn 1. And we have Scott Bennett in 6th, so he had a great start as well. I missed that, and I apologise to Scott, but what a start that was for Scott as well. He's up to 6th place.
No. We've got, I think that's, Kieran Ryan went straight across the chicane towards West Speed. I'm lucky he didn't wipe anyone out. That reminded me of what happened to the Yutzi at the start of last year's Italian Grand Prix. So lucky not to take anyone out. You see him there just in front of shots. How lucky was that? Look at that customer on the inside. Scott Bennett as they head down towards the Roshi once again. And he's battling away for 7th place. He's on the outside of Scott Bennett. Will he outbrake him, or is Scott going to hold his place? He does.
Oh, Scott! Wow, that was way too much there from Scott. He just careered into the side of Dave Carl-Smith after Carl-Smith gave him plenty of room.
I think there's someone off in the background. I think it may be Pavlanovsky. Let's have a look. Yes, Pavlanovsky's spinning off at the Roche chicane. You can see him there. I did see someone spinning off, but he's got going again. He's got a massive dent in his rear bumper, but apart from that, he's keeping going. But it's I think this final race, it seems to be kind of like an end of term atmosphere rather than a third race. But I think it seems to have forgotten it's still the first round. We've still got 6 more rounds to go.
It's absolutely frantic and fraught, and this is what race 3 was always going to produce, with maybe the faster guys towards the back and the slow guys towards the front. If Dave Stanton's braked way too late trying to get past Fuller for Ascari, and Dave Stanton's going to come back on and lose out to Carl-Smith as well. So Carl-Smith moves into 5th place.
Bennett.
Scott Bennett goes through as well. Scott Bennett with a very ordinary trying to overtake move into the 2nd chicane on Carl-Smith has been able to latch onto the back of him again, as Carl-Smith's going to go to the inside of Mark Fuller as he does. So he's now into 4th place, Carl-Smith, from 18th on the grid in just 2 laps. Oh, slight tap there on Fuller, but Carl-Smith had the corner already. Robbins racing, and it's going to give Bennett a run out of the final corner as well. A parabolic onto the start straight. As Carl-Smith now moves into 4th place, he will try and now catch Ehab Abbas and Phil Cullen, who are just in front of him. And of course, Phil Cullen is his teammate and team manager as well. Simon Cattell, 6-second advantage on lap 3. Simon Cattell is just decimating the field at the moment. Abbas has moved up into 2nd place as well in front of Phil Cullen now. Carl Smith has 2.9 seconds to make up. Bennett is now all over the rear wing of Fuller. Well, he didn't actually get by him, so Bennett's still trying to get by Fuller. He'll try and move to the inside for the second chicane as he goes to the left-hand side now. He does. He falls out to the left. He will try and brake as late as he can underneath the bridge. Fuller goes to defend. Bennett's going to go underneath the bridge and brake later, is he? Yes, he does. So he'll get by Fuller. Oh, no, he doesn't, because Fuller just sweeps down the outside. Great move, Mark Fuller. Oh, he's compromised his exit, though. First Lesmo coming up. Can Bennett get by? He'll try and sweep on the inside. He does. But again, Fuller around the outside. Squeezes him. Good driving, Mark Fuller. He's having a great race here at the moment. Mark Fuller doing everything he can to defend that 5th position with all of his life. And it's allowed Veets now up to 7th place. He was well down the field. So Veets into 7th. Dave Stanton's in 8th. Redshaw's in 9th. And Mark Wixie's under heavy pressure from Miles Dixon now for 10th.
It's all kicking off in the midfield because you've got a massive train of cars from about 8th or 9th backwards. There's battles going all down the field. So as you see, we've got, it looks like Wicks and one of the Miles Dixon, as you said, are battling with David Johnson there as well. OJ Clark, Bob, the Voss is in there. Keen Story. They're all battling away. It's unbelievable. Literally, this is like it's rush hour on the M25. It's not a sprint race at Monza, for goodness sake. It's absolutely crazy. And there's a massive four-way battle going on front. I think we've got Scott Bennett on the grass almost. He's battling with Eric Twite. Eric Twite's got right up through the field. He's up to 7th already. What a start! It's another fastest lap of the race, and someone's off. That looked like a trying to get that possibly was.
Oh, Fuller spun! Oh, he hit Dixon in Parabolica. Oh, that was horrible. That was a horrible crash there. He spun right in the middle of Parabolica and he hit Dixon.
We'll get a replay of that.
And Fuller, and he's fallen back through the field. Now that's just shaking it all up because the Veet's going to go into 5th, is he? He is. He's going to get past Scott Bennett going into turn 1. Oh. He'll brake later, as he has been. So Veet's going to go up another position. He goes into 5th place. As that puts Bennett down in front of Dave Stanton. Carl Smith is still holding on to 4th place and falling back through the field. Oh, OJ Clark has got very close to Mark Wicks there. Side by side with Wixie, but the Voss is in 11th. Key Story's 12th. Stanton's 13th. Bryson's now 14th. John's falling way back to 15th. Schumacher was 19th, now 16th. Leibier's 17th. Miles Dixon went all the way down to 18th place. Now where's Lee Morris? Because Lee Morris was racing. I don't know if he's still going. He is. He's in 30th place. He's on for a great scrap with James Shepherd. That's going to be a bit of fun between the pair of them for 30th place.
And amazing, look at the gap that Simon Cattell has now. He's got the gap out now to 10.2 seconds. He's absolutely flying. We say he needed a good race, and he really needed the win, and he definitely looks like he's cemented that already. Yeah,
he's nearly, well, in comparison to the fastest laps that we've currently seen, he's 2.7 seconds a lap quicker than Ehab Abbas in 2nd place. That's the difference between Cattell and Abbas. And Cullen's trying to get by Abbas as well. And look at Carl Smith. Carl Smith's there and he's ready to pounce on both positions.
Just going to trigger that switch so we can have a look at it. There we go. Down the back straight. This is going to be interesting because, of course, Cullen's now going to watch his teammate. He's been in a catch-22 situation. He's going to try and attack at Abbas, but at the same time defend and not trying to get in the way too much of Dave Carl Smith because, of course, he's charging as Cullen looks to the inside of the Egyptian down towards the Parabolica. And he's not far enough alongside, although maybe this will give TikTok an excellent run onto the pit straight. Here they come then. As on they go. They go right to the outside of the white line. And down the straight they go. And Cullen really getting into the toe. This is for 2nd place, remember. This is for the podium place. And look at the run that Cullen's got down the pit straight. He's going to try and make it 3 wide. He gets into the toe of Cullen, then into Abbas, then back into Cullen's toe. He's now in the middle of the two of them. As Cullen sends it down the inside and takes 2nd place, but he's gone too deep and Cosmic going to try and go around the outside, and how close was that? Cullen almost tagged the back of Cosmic's car. Remember, these touring cars are so light you can spin them around with your little finger. They're so light on the rear end. Bear in mind, these cars are also rear-wheel drive, so of course they get fantastic starts, but nonetheless, Cosmic up to 3rd place. What a charge he's put in. From 18th, he started on the grid. He's up to 3rd already, and it's almost he's going to be 2nd in a minute, because he's really having a look at Abbas down towards the Roger chicane, and he just holds on. I think he's trying to make Abbas go deep or make a mistake, and the rate he's going, if he just sticks onto the boot lid of the Vortex GP driver, he will definitely see to that, but it just seems to be more now a case of, oh, there it is. In fact, Abbas goes very wide through the first Lesmo, and this is going to put Cosworth up the inside for the 2nd Lesmo, but not enough because Abbas keeps it. Big twitch out for 2nd Lesmo. I think it's going to give DCS the run that he needs to get himself into 2nd. He got the inside line, and Abbas is pretty much powerless to defend it. But now the question is, really looks as though unless something drastically major happens to Cattell, As Carl Smith goes up the inside, that was cheeky as he went right over the inside of the corner, over the curves. So whether there goes Cullen. He loses it on the exit of the Ascari chicane. That was look at that. He just lost it and slams into the barrier. And in the fact that Twite's gone through, it's gone through. Redshaw's gone through. There goes Cullen, and also Bart DeVos. Clark and DeVos gone through, and the rest of them coming through. There goes Wicks, and there's Story, Bryson. They're all coming through. That's really unfortunate from I thought it was Philip Cullen there. I just saw him shoot through the picture, and that's rather unfortunate. He was on for a good points finish. He's still in there, but he's lost a lot of time. And one car's off right at the back. It's possibly Keith Story in the back in the gravel, and so is Mark Wicks as well. So it's all going on with 3 laps to go.
Absolutely, it's now Carl Smith is up into second place, and we'll try and close him to tell, but it's at 13 seconds, so I don't think he'll be able to do anything now. So I think the first 2 positions are certainly set. But Tavi is closing on Ehab Bass at a rate of knots as well, so we could see a change on the podium. Scott Bennett currently sits in 5th place with Redshaw in 6th. What a great race Redshaw's having. Dave Stanton currently is in 7th place, so he's having a wonderful race as well. OJ Clark is 8th, but coming under heavy fire from Bart DeVos now. He is indeed, so OJ Clark is going to defend his line. No, he's not, he doesn't even need to, in fact, so DeVos has stayed behind him going into the second chicane. Martin Schumacher is up to 10th now. So Schumacher's inside the top 10, as Phil Cullen is holding off a train of cars. Kenny Lybeer, Mark Stanton, David John, Boyd Bryson, all stacked up behind the damaged Phil Cullen BMW at the moment of the Halcyon Racing. That's not really worked out whatsoever at the moment there for Phil Cullen, unfortunately. As back towards the front, we still have Alice in front. Simon Cattell, 13.6 seconds in front of Dave Carl Smith, who has all that weight on board as well, we have to remember. As Ehab Bass still in 3rd, and Vitis closing. As Carl Smith will be ruining this weight. It feels like he's got Sean Stroud sitting next to him, so he's not going to be happy about that. As Simon Cattell is still got 13.8 second advantage. It's not, there's nothing that Dave Carl Smith's going to be able to do about that at all, I don't think, here now.
Down the pit straight, 2 laps to go then, and as I said, this is exactly what he needs. Just a nice trouble-free race up at the front with no one to bother him, and definitely something that he'll salvage from Monza to get his championship defence back on track after 2 rather dismal races in races 1 and 2. There's DCS in 2nd place, so as you said, lugging all that weight around from his 2 podiums in race 1 and 2, the victory in race 2 and the 2nd place in race 1. And back at about 3rd place, and you can see that Twite really has closed up on the Ehab Bass. This could be another podium for Eric Twite. There could be 3 in a row then. He might even get the hat-trick actually. I think it gives a win, a 2nd place and a 3rd, all in that order. That'd be pretty cool if he can manage that one. He's definitely on course as he goes through the Curva Grande. He's got a great run on the Ehab Bass as he goes down up the inside towards the Rosa chicane, and he breaks the tad later. Bit of body contact, but he is through. So there goes right then up to 3rd place. I'm pretty sure he'll at least try and start a chase towards DCS, but I think that the Halcyon driver has that 2nd place all sewn up for the moment. Another strong result race for Scott Bennett. He's had a good time here at Monza in the opening race. He's had a couple of decent results. I think he's finished 6th in the first 2 races. A 5th will get us a bit better as just watch behind him. Lewis Redshaw getting a bit ragged in the Coca-Cola BMW. On the exit, the 2nd Lesvis. And then in 7th place is, of course, David Stanton. Good stuff from him. Good stuff from Constant Racing overall. Good weekend for them. 8th place, salvaging something for Simic Motorsport is, of course, Clark. He's under pressure from the Voss, who's always been on the points. As you said, great effort from Martin Schumacher. Our first lap misdemeanors. And that's a bit cheap. Just watched him go first part of the Ascari chicane. He took a lot of curve, maybe too much, in fact. But so he's still 10th and still soldiering on. And really in fact, he's really charging onto the back of on his way to try and catch up to Voss and Clark. Whether he'll do it before the end of the last lap remains to be seen, as our race leader is now on his final lap. So one more tour of the Auto Dominant Nationale di Monza. It will be a victory that will definitely get his defence up to a much better start than it has so far.
It will indeed, as the drivers are coming through to start their final lap. There's still got some battling on through the midfield. Looks like DeVos is going to try and make another move on Clark, but couldn't get it done. And behind them for, this is going to be 11th place, it's going to be Mark Stanton on the outside of David Junt over 11th place. But Junt holds on into turn 1, he gets a break, breaks nice and deep into the corner, but Stanton is going to get the cutback, I'm sure. He'll get a good drive out the final, the second part of the first corner. So he might be able to close onto the second part of the chicane, as it looks like OJ Clark is going to go side by side with David Stanton over 7th place. So OJ Clark down the inside, Stanton sweeps across the nose. Well defended Dave Stanton there. That's worked out nicely for him, as Ehab Abbas has caught the back of Veit again, so he's really not letting go. But Scott Bennett's got to run up towards the second Lesmo. Will he take it? That was very, very close. Doesn't get it done there, so Ehab Abbas has held on to 4th place. Scott Bennett is going to try and get by. Oh, Abbas is on the back of Veit. Can he snatch a podium here, Ehab Abbas? What a fantastic effort this will be if he's able to do it. Because Tavit has all that weight on board as well, of course, and Abbas has got nothing into Ascari. He can't get it done, though, as Cattell is now approaching Parabolica for the very final time. Simon Cattell, who's had an absolute nightmare first few races, had a drive-through as well, and it's just not worked out at all. But he's redeemed himself in race 3, and Simon Cattell will come across the line to win in race number 3 with a fantastic victory by over 15 seconds from race 2 winner Dave Carr-Smith, who has come through Parabolica now. So he will come across and probably take the championship lead.
Just behind Twite's got 3rd, but I think Bennett might just get a run onto 4th. I think he just tagged the back of Abbas's car. But no, that's just how it's going to finish. And I think Bennett will try, but tomorrow.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've just lost Scott there for a second. So it's Scott Bennett coming across in 5th, Lewis Redshaw 6th, OJ Clark was 7th. Was he? Yes, OJ Clark. No, Dave Stanton, sorry, was 7th. OJ Clark was 8th. Bart DeVos 9th. Martin Schumacher 10th. David Junt held on for 11th place with Mark Stanton in 12th. Kenny Leibeer 13th. Phil Cullen came across in 14th. Kieran Ryan 15th. Jeff Mead is 15th now. Sorry, I think Kieran Ryan's got a drive through there. Jeff Mead 15th. Will Tringer 16th. Mark Fuller 17th. Mark Wicks 18th. Kieran Ryan is dropping through the field because of his drive through. So Luke McKee's 21st, Simon Crane 22nd, and we will have Chris Williamson come across as well, and then Kieran Ryan's dropped all the way through to Wesley Morris 23rd, Miles Dixon 24th, and then Ollie Woods.
To jump in, you might want to jump in because actually I'm watching here, this battle between Shepard and Morris isn't over. It may only be for, I think, about 27th or 28th place, but they're still going at it hammer and tongs. And Morris went very wide on the exit of the Ascari chicane, but this is, I think Shepard's going to just about have it. There'll be no points, there'll just be for pride at stake. I think Shepard's just about to get it. I think, although Morris has a slightly better run out of Parabolica and onto the pit straight. How nice is this going to be? Morris and Shepard neck and neck towards the line, and Morris, I think, just got it. I think Morris just got it.
He did.
And look at that. That's incredible by literally about 600ths of a second. So, very cheeky there from Lee Morris. Despite not scoring any points, he made it stick, and he's managed to grab himself a consolation of 27th place and a moral victory over James Shepard. So, wow, I think we can safely breathe after that 3rd race, because that was action non-stop, I think.
Yeah, an incredible race once again, an absolutely perfect dominant race there for Simon Cattell Innovation Racing as well. That worked out superbly well, and Dave Carr-Smith to get through from 18th on the grid to 2nd is a wonderful effort. And Eric Tavit to come up from, it would be 17th into 3rd place for Tiger Express. That's a great effort as well. Big congratulations to Ehab Abbas in Vortex GP. What a race that is for Ehab Abbas. So big congratulations to him. And then Scott Bennett obviously coming through for Racing Team Sheraton in 5th.
See if we can get any more drivers in for some interviews. And of course, quick rundown then of the final top 15 of this final race of tonight's triple header race here at Monza. And it was Simon Cattell finally getting himself a decent result from this race weekend at Monza with a win. As we said, 14.7 seconds, he finished ahead of Dave Carr-Smith, as we said, with all that weight on there, and did start 18th up to 2nd. Eric Tveit gets himself the hat-trick of podium place for the 3rd in race 3. Ehab Abbas grabs 4th for Vortex Racing. Scott Bennett, what a weekend he's had. A 5th place in the final race, a fantastic job from him. Lewis Redshaw was 6th for Hawkeye in the Coca-Cola car, 7th David Stanton for Constant Racing. The 2 Cement cars of Clark and DeVos 8th and 9th, and Martin Schumacher, after his misdemeanor at the first lap, down to 25th. He went up to 10th. and then it was the rest of the top 15 was Junt, Stanton, Liebert, Phil Cullen, who was on the edge of a 4th place, but after his mistake dropped down to 14th. Jeff Mead rounds out the top 15, and we've got a few more drivers coming in. We've got, of course, again, we've got Dave Cosworth and Lee Morris. We've also got in here David Junt has jumped in as well. And let's have a chat with him. So, first of all, let's go back to DCS. Dave, you started 18th, all that weight. Did you imagine the pace that you had, even with that you still had the pace to wind up second in second?
No, I think I got kind of lucky because all the chaos that broke out on the start helped me massively. I took out most of my rivals aside from Simon, who was just unstoppable.
Seems to be is that you managed to come field with fairly relative ease. Seems to be just managed to carve through the field with little trouble. I mean, obviously with 2 seconds on a first, it puts you in a fantastic position in the championship already. But obviously with the pace, you think obviously that if he doesn't have any kind of bad luck, you think obviously at the moment he seems to be showing the same kind of form that he did. Okay, I'm not sure if DCS is still there with us.
I'm sorry, I got a lag. I don't know if it was you or me.
Oh no, sorry, I was just asking. See, it's definitely looking as though that's obviously the pace that Simon showed, that on a good day when he hasn't, or a good race when he hasn't had any dramas or any kind of damage or drive-through penalties, he seems to be showing exactly the same kind of dominant form that he showed right at the end of the season that won him the championship.
Yeah, it'll be a factor in it. He had a rough race 1 and 2, but he'll be the next races for sure.
Well, anyway, congratulations, Dave, with a 2 second places and a win. So it's definitely a good start to your championship campaign with Halcyon. Let's quickly turn to let's have a word with the troublesome twosome at the back of the field in race 3, James Shepherd and Lee Morris. Let's just get to James first. James, it seems to be as though we think Nick caught it on the broadcast. I'm not sure we caught it on camera, but you seem to have a bit of trouble into turn 1, a bit in amongst the chaos. Just tell us what happened from your point of view.
No idea. Got punted about 10 different times. Don't know if it was my fault because I try to be a bit cautious getting in the brakes early and give everyone room. But you know, these cars, everyone tries to go about 5 wide into every corner. So yeah, we got punted, got damaged. I got flipped up on my side and cruised around to the pit lane with Lee with me, and then we just had a nice battle for the rest of the race.
Definitely very close. Seemed to be that it was kind of just slight, kind of like just basically just racing for pride really between yourself and Lee. Was it entertaining between you two at the back?
Oh yeah, like we were in the same channel, having a chat, laughing, and you know, having a good time, making the most of what eventually is a bad result. But yeah, we had a bit of a joke around and said, whatever we do, we're going to beat Wesley Morris. You know, he was the car in front that we believed we could try to chase down and get to. So we were pushing really, really hard, and you know, every now and again you'd make a mistake and we'd let the other one up the inside, and so we were fighting tooth and nail, probably slowed each other a little bit, but had no chance of catching Wes really. But just a bit of fun, you know, like the race is ruined, can't get a decent result, couldn't get a fastest lap, our cars were way too damaged. So just thought we'd make the most of it and battle each other for a change.
You nabbed 27th place from you on the line. You going to look for revenge next time out in Silverstone?
I think Lee got me, didn't he?
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. Obviously, he nabbed you for 27th place on the line. So, are you going to be looking for revenge in Silverstone?
Oh, who knows? Who knows where we are? You know, like, happy to finish as high up as I possibly can. But you know, if it's so be it that we come to the line again, then yeah, for sure, I'll give him a run for his money.
Well, and it's been an eventful day for James, as it has been for Lee. Lee, obviously, looks like you had a bit of a less than average start, and looks like you possibly got caught up in the first couple of corner shenanigans. Just talk us through what happened from your point of view.
Start were good this time. It wasn't the best. I mean, Dave rocketed past, but it was better. It was like race 1. It was good. I maintained 15th place off the line, and I was actually in there, you know, behind the pack. I went to the outside into turn 1 because I could see a lot of cars on the inside. Basically sat there, were nice and cautious, and all of a sudden, bang, about 3 or 4 cars piled into the side of me. So basically I decided to go across the anti-cut because there was no room to go across because there was a car spun, I believe, or something. So I decided to go across the anti-cut. Next thing you know, it flashes up stop-go penalty. Next thing, I'm getting swiped out into a barrier as well. So basically, I had lots of damage. Cruised back round, like I say, met up with James in pits. Came back out, and it wasn't really a real battle, like you say. We had damaged cars and that, and he would have beat me across the line, but it was pre-planned and stuff like that. We didn't really have. It wasn't really a proper race, let's say. We was basically just messing about at the back. We had nothing else to lose. We tried to go for the fastest lap, but like you said, the cars were too badly damaged. Which is a real shame, because I reckon, I mean, look at Dave, he got up to second and we were in front of him on grid, and I really think we could have got up there and gone podium like I forecast.
With this first race course compared to what happened last time you were in a Masters touring car, you definitely seem to have adapted back to touring cars pretty quickly. How do you rate your chances in terms of better results moving on to the next few races at Silverstone and Curitiba?
Well, that's I've got to really thank Dave for the results. I had 2 4th places. Like the pace was there to win the race. Even it was. I mean, I had the fastest lap in race 2, but that all goes to Dave because he helped me out tremendously before the race. I'm not in any way a tin top expert or anything like that. I'm absolutely useless when it comes to GTs and touring cars. Things like that. I just cannot get on with him. But he showed me something in practice and went straight out, and it worked. And I was like, suddenly a second and a half lap faster. It was crazy how just a slight difference can change things. So basically now, from now on, I know that information now. So there's no reason why I can't aim for wins. On the next track, on the further track after that. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to challenge for wins and podiums with this lot. It's just last season were a disaster, but as I already said before, when I got banned and that, I accepted it fully because I did it on purpose, and I already admitted that, as I said. So that I look back at that. That's in the past now. That's not me. We saw racing last year. This was me racing today, having great battles and having great fun. And just thank you to everyone for letting me be a part of it again, because it was really good fun today.
Excellent stuff from Lee. We also got David Junt from Tiger Express and OJ Clark from Sim Inc. Motorsports. Guys, just talk us through your race weekends as a whole. It seems to be that you had some decent results and managed to get, for the most part, into the bottom ends of the points finishes, or around the edge of the top 10. Just talk us through how your race weekends have been, both from your point of view.
Well, for me, it was pretty bad. It was really chaotic out there. I qualified 6th, but I think I could have made it into the top 3 based on my live races time. Very bad starts today, really bad. Ended up 17th. I just kept getting taken out over and over again, especially in race 2. It was ridiculous. But race 3, we came back and we had quite a good battle with my teammate and good friend, Bud the Boss, and just managed to finish 8th. Almost got Dave Stanton towards the end, but not quite, and there you go.
Good stuff. And yourself, how was your race weekend as a whole?
I mean, for all 3 races, I felt like I was in the middle of a war or something, battlefield everywhere, and every race was just somewhere between P10 and P15, and was just fighting everywhere. I've received some taps and I gave some. I'm not apologized for it, but well, it was very hard to drive, and I had no real pace like my teammate and Eric. Eric was just, it's like we're focusing just on Eric because he did a really great job with a great pace, winning even a second race for 10 in the Masters. So I think we have to be happy because we're just 2 cars at this event. We'll get back to the next one, and so really happy to have so much points from this race. So I'm not really disappointed with the race, always being close to the top 10. That's great.
Excellent stuff. Nick, do you have any questions for any of our drivers in the commentary box here?
No, I think we've covered it all there tonight. It's just been an incredible 3 races. That chaotic and mental final race was capped off a fantastic evenings of racing, to be honest with you. And I think the Masters Series has set itself up nicely for the season that it has planned, and obviously running out at the end at Singapore, which, after if anything this is going to go by, Singapore could be a little bit chaotic.
Exactly. Since we've got a street circuit to negotiate, I'm predicting probably. Well, I'm going to say controlled chaos, it'll probably just be chaos, but nonetheless, that is a few months away. And unless there's anything else to cover, that pretty much rounds up our slightly later coverage. Apologies for that, we had some technical issues, but we managed to get them sorted. The next time you'll see the Masters Touring cars back out on track will be August 30th, where they'll be heading from Italy over to good old Blighty, where they'll be up to Silverstone for another 3 races. I hope you should be able to join us at 7 o'clock GMT, that'll be 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock GMT, that'll be 7 o'clock British summertime. And of course, he should be joining myself. Whether or not Nick will be here alongside me again as well, we'll have to wait and see whether he's available. But it's good to commentate once again alongside Nick. It's always enjoyable to commentate with him, so thank you much for that.
Thank you also.
Not a problem. And obviously, well, congratulations, of course, to our 3 race winners tonight, which was Eric Tveit in race 1, Dave Carl Smith in race 2, and reigning champion Simon Cattell in race 3. So that just about wraps it up then. So thank you very much for tuning in. If you have, hopefully you've enjoyed 3 rather frantic but entertaining touring car races. And until next time, we will see you in 2 weeks for another triple header of Masters races at Silverstone. So until then, from all of us here, it's been a GPWC presentation for SimRace.tv. I'm Scott Woodwiss, for myself, Nick Rowland, and everyone here. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye for now.